Hi, I'm James Dickey, Senior Trial Counsel for the Upper Midwest Law Center, the nonprofit public interest law firm that fights for liberty and the rule of law, located right here in Golden Valley, Minnesota. Welcome back to Minnesota Law Weekly, where Doug Seaton and I update you on important developments on legal issues in Minnesota. Today we are talking about issues faced by Minnesota parents and taxpayers with their local school districts. First, let's talk about data requests. Upper Midwest Law Center has helped parents and taxpayers across the state through submitting data requests, also known as FOIA requests, to public school districts to determine what kind of material is being taught to children and used for teacher training. School districts across the state have unfortunately pushed back against transparency, and we have even had to sue districts for failing to produce data. Sadly, sometimes parents need an attorney to get their own districts to take them seriously. The data we have found over the last couple of years indicates that many teachers personally subscribe to the woke madness invading schools, and some of the teacher trainings and lesson plans we have seen are downright racist and wrong. Teachers especially appear to be faced with training in CRT and false gender ideology. In fact, the teachers have it so bad that the state PELSB, the Professional Educator Licensing and Standards Board, is attempting to pass a new administrative rule that requires all teachers to be, quote, competent in racial consciousness and reflection, which is code for CRT on steroids. In order to get their licenses, teachers will be forced to agree that racism is embedded in our institutions and everyday life, and that outcomes in school must be racially equitable, meaning you grade different races differently. Teachers will have to understand privilege created by being born of a certain race, skin color, sex, gender, and so on. Teachers will have to understand intersectionality, which is essentially the theory that everyone who is not a white male has a disadvantage and must band together with other identity groups to fight against that privilege. Teachers will have to understand how white supremacy causes differences in grades for students of different races. This is racism and class-based warfare. It is outrageous that a state licensing board is planning to force teachers to either agree with a racist, cultural Marxist ideology or not have a teaching license. But you can fight back, as we plan to do. We at Upper Midwest Law Center plan to appear at a public hearing on this matter at the end of August, and you can too. We plan to testify against this bad and unconstitutional ideology, which requires agreement with a particular political and quasi-religious ideology as a condition of getting a job as a teacher. That is wrong, and we will stand up against it. Let's also talk briefly about school board abuses. During the school shutdowns caused by the government response to COVID-19, parents across Minnesota were given a Zoom window into the reality that Minnesota's teachers' unions and rogue actors in schools were inserting political propaganda into schools and teaching racist ideology to their children, sought to shut down the schools, and they wanted to force masks on kids. The parents' response was predictable. They didn't like it, and they began to let their school boards know at public meetings. What was the school board's response? Well, at the national level, you've all heard about the National School Board Association calling well-meaning parents domestic terrorists. But here in Minnesota, another tactic they have adopted is to abuse Minnesota's trespass law to shun any parent who dares to speak when they have not been allowed to speak based on the proposed topic they want to speak about. This is called content-based or viewpoint discrimination, and it violates the First Amendment. When this happened to a group of parents in Elk River last year, we stepped in at UMLC and got the trespass orders rescinded. The same thing happened at Rock Ridge up on the Iron Range. Again, we stepped in and got the trespass order lifted. You have rights against this discriminatory bullying, and we support you. We have also seen even school board members themselves being discriminated against by colleagues on the board who don't like their ideas or manner of presenting them. We have seen school board members in Hastings and Rock Ridge censured and barred from committees based on what appear to be trumped-up charges designed to silence them. Censure actions without proper cause, which take away duties from elected representatives, are unconstitutional. We are looking closely into these issues and expect to take legal action in the near future. Well, that's it for this week on Minnesota Law Weekly. You can learn more about Upper Midwest Law Center's many cases by visiting www.umlc.org, and you can also make a confidential tax-deductible donation to us on our website or by sending us a check. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.